Let's continue on in our class. And so we were on page Mem Hey, and I think I saved that over for us. Now the Rabbit said like this, so I have to give you one preliminary idea. You should know this. Whatever aspect, whatever way that you look at reality, and any midrega of closeness to the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, we call parts of. Now I saw Aryeh Kaplan had a different way of saying this. I'll try to combine some of what's the definition of parts of. It's a communication system. There's always 10 spheros in every parts of. Lo pachos for lo yoser, not less than that, not more than that. V'heim oruz panimium asara, and how does it work out? There are 10 lights which are called panimium, or inside lights. Oruz makifim, and then there's also asara, and there's also 10 oruz makifim. Now, if you remember back to what we've been saying there's a Naranchi. Well, he's going to have to explain that. How is it? Naranchi is 5 lights. So from those 5 lights, we have fitting into 10 spheros in some way because of the systems are divided for the 10 spheros in 5 partsufim, the partsufim of communication, which is what we're learning really is how the system works. I'm reading the Tiv of the Kavanas now. So again, you have a Naranchi Panimium, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chai Yechida. That's 5. You have the whole Naranchi on the inside. On the outside, you only have the Chai Yechida, and he doesn't mention the other ones. So we don't mention the whole Naranchi, so it's called the Chai Yechida on the outside. What I said, the outside is a makif, it's surrounding light. Let's see what he says. And that we said before. After Malchus has a Naranchi Panimium Umakifim the Chai Yechida, and also has the Chai Yechida on the outside, which we just said. Azai Nishlama. Then it has achieved its perfect state. Vakasha. So there's a problem, he says. What's the problem? Why doesn't it get more? Shel Makifim connected around. Now, he said the Makifim that come into the top 2 Makifim, the Chai Yechida. But wait a minute, what about the Naran, the Nefesh, the Ruach, and the Neshama that also go down, they're also part of it. Because we know that it's a complete Naranchi inside, and we also said that yes, there's also a 5 on the outside, but how come the perfection of Malchus is only when there's a Naranchi complete on the inside and only have the Chayiv Yechida? You're missing the Naran part. He called Pratu Prat B'Holomos of Partsufim. He says because every single part, every detail in every Partsuf, Yesh B'Chasara Oros Makifim V'Chasara Oros Panimim. That's the rest of the Kasha. It always has 10 lights on the outside, 10 lights on the inside. Now we divide them up into Naranchi. So he's a kamo should be Arno Ba'oros Ha'ozen, like we said before, by the lights of the ear, Shiyatzach B'Sara Oros Mekifim Ba'ozen Yamim, that we said there was 10 lights, Mekifim, that came out of the right ear, B'Sara Oros Benimim, Ba'ozen Small, and then there was the Benimadik eye lights that came out of the left ear. V'chein is Baruch Shasaras Spheros Benimim, so they've also explained like this, that the 10 spheros that are on the inside, so they all are represented by an Naranchi. In other words, there's 10 lights on the inside, but they're funneled or, represented by the 5 lights which are Naranchi. This, again, the concept of 10 can be used into 5. V'eser spheros makifim, then they had 10 spheros on the kifim. Nechlalim b'chamesh b'chinas Naranchi makifim. So there should be, in fact, 10 lights of the Naranchi on the Makifim. The motion is Bayer Ba'oris Ozen, like we said over there by the Oz of the Chodim, but you had a Naranchi on the right side, 10 spheros. You had a Naranchi on the left side, 10 spheros. Then one part on the inside, that is the inside comes from the left side, and the outside, that is the Makifim, come from the right side. Ba'achotim Shohoyim Naranchi Panimim, and the Naranchi Makif also said that by Ozen. So now he wants to answer this. Number ches. He says, the Rav says, Amna, so we see. So just trying to understand this is that the five that are on that we always every time that we say 10, there are 10 lights, but they actually are expressed by the Rantchi, which is only 5. Why? Because the 5 represents the parts of those are the communication systems. And what we're trying to do is communicate all throughout. Let's just say that my head, my body, your body is really, and down to your feet and down where you're touching the ground, is really, the whole thing is a communication system. And if you could see that in a spiritual sense, that the same formations are actually operating in a spiritual sense. So these are actually 5 different parts that we divided this up to. They're into. So this is a whole other thing where we saw in Shartanta, Perak Aleph. Now we're going to name the names of the systems of communication which are called Partsufim. So there's Erech Anpin, Va'aba Ve'ima, V'zav V'nok. Those are the 5 systems. So those 5 systems, therefore, each one of them has a representative in part of the Oros. The Oros are inside of these systems. So these also have another term that works for them, which is besides the fact you have Erech Anpin is going to go with Yechida, and then Abba is going to go with Chaim, then Ima is going to go with Neshama, and down the line until all of them match up with these different aspects of the names of the systems. Also have Oros that match them too. So then he said, Neshama, Ruach, the Nefesh, Shal Klal is called Olam, V'Olam Levado, so that it has these sets of 5s where you have systems and then lights within the systems, they're 5s. V'chein al derek zechah b'mekifim, with the same thing in Mekifim. Kehem B'sara, Nechlala, B'chamisha, and Kenizkar, so the same thing we say, they have 10 on the outside, they're incorporated in the 5, which are the Narantchi. Now, the Tiv Kavanas are going to comment on that. This is Rob said that. He says, Eses Spheros, Shehem Keser, Chochma, Bina. Now, the count could be different because we have a concept that whenever it says Keser is really from a different higher parts of whatever parts of that you're talking about. It's like the bottom end of it in a certain way that bleeds, or not bleeds in, but enters in to the lower parts. And usually that we have the word Chabad, or Chabad Chagad Nai, that we describe these 9 different levels because those are the levels where everything that we can understand is reachable. So that's why they say Reishis Chachma. The very beginning is Chachma. But over here he says, look, there's a Keser, there's a Chachma, and there's a Bina. Now somewhere in there is also a Das. Das, usually when we say Das, it goes along with Chachma and Bina, and we don't count it with Keser. So he says a Chachma, Bina, Das, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Chod, Yisod, Malchus, those are the 10. So these 10 then get divided into 5 spheros. So how does it work? So he's spelling it out, making it real easy. He says, Ki keser hu parts of arich. There's a keser is the parts of, and that parts of is also called arich. V'chochma he parts of Abba, Ubina he parts of Ima, v'chagaz nai hem parts of Echad, which is called Zah, u'malchus nikras nuk de Zah. So these 5 partsufim then, they all have corresponding to them 5 aspects of light which are called narantchi. The kol olam v'olam. Every olam, if it has a system, then the system has oros in that system. They're called narantchi. The geshem sheba oros abenimim nechlala ma'eser spheres b'chamesh b'chinas narantchi. And since in the oros on the inside, we have incorporated with them 10 lights, and represented by the bechinas of Narantchi, came eses spheres and mekifin nechlala b'chamesh bechinas Narantchi. So therefore, you have to have the same thing on the outside, because every or that's a panimi has a corresponding or which is a makif. They don't work the same; they're different. Boven sheyeshna Narantchi panimim v'Narantchi makifim, so that we see that there's a Narantchi on the inside, the Narantchi on the outside. So now we're explaining here that they have two different bechinos. Again, Mekifim, the Chaim Yechida, that's what they have in the Mekifim. Bein Mekifim the Nefesh Ruach Neshama. That was his kasha. His kasha is if you have a complete Neuronski on the inside, why wouldn't you have a complete Neuronski on the outside? Instead, you have the upper two, the two highest ones. So now we're going to switch. We're on page Memvav, and now we're going to switch just to read the Rav, just to see what the Rav has to say here. Amnam da ki bekol ha'oruz v'halomos. So he says you have to know that when we speak of lights, and remember that lights are energy sources, and there's different kinds. So the systems are the systems that channel, that is the partsufim, are the systems that channel the oros, and they allow the oros to communicate one to each other. That is the system of the way it is. And the way it is that light is generated from the top, spreads down the arms and the trunk of the body, goes all the way through the legs down to the floor. Okay, this is the energy of the universe that's actually traveling through us, keeps us alive. And when there's a block, you get sickness. There's different things that block it, and different Kabbalists may know different kinds of procedures to try to unblock, or we could do it ourselves to pray for it, as we have in other shiurim, to really allow the flow of Hashem Shefa to come back through these systems and bring the Neuronchi back. So, going on, he says, so I'm going to, that was number 9. So he says, I have started again as I got off on that track and that thought. So we have different words here. And part of what we need to learn as a beginner in learning Sod is just the language that the Rav uses. Now you know that there's such a thing as a Bechina, and that's such a thing as a Partzuf. Another Katza, we have Spheros and we have Oros. All of these are different forms of energy, but we understood from the very beginning, if you think back, whether it was a separated of lights, or these are the words that he used called Oros, there was those Oros which were more refined and those Oros which were less refined. And as this is built and develops, the Oros which are less refined become like containers, kalim, to be able to hold the more refined light, which we started to put the word or together on that. But they're all energy systems. They're all coming from the same place. So it says, let me start again, number 10. Amnam daki bekol ha'oros ha'lamot v'ha'partzufim. Sheyesh min achotim shel ak v'lamala, that are from the nose of ak going upwards. Bekol partzuf mehem, yesh tamid kol ha'bechinas ha'elu shlemos. So if we went back to Ak, we're not talking about Ak now, we're talking about the Olam HaKudim, which is outside, going down this way from the beard, going down to the chest, going down, or maybe it's going further down, it's to really remember exactly how far it's going down. So he says, Tamid Bechinas Elu Shlema, so there you have all of these things from here up there, you have 10 Oros Mekifim and 10 Oros Panimi. Got my hands backwards. Mekifim, Panimi. Shehem Chamisha Oros Panimim Malkololam Eser Spheros. So it has 5. This is the exact language that we need to know. These are 5 different energy bundles called lights that are called Panimim. Hakololam Eser Spheros, which can be divided up into 10 Spheros Pratios Kanizkar. V'chamisha Oros Mekifim, and then there are 5 Oros which are Mekifim, HaKololim Eser Spheros Pratios Kanizkar. That is, if I was Ak, from my nose upwards, that's where we would have a complete Neuronchi. Neuronchi in the outside, Neuronchi in the inside. So he writes like this, all the lights from the nose upwards, they're talking about Ak. The Hainu Oros HaKarkafta, he says, what are these? These are called the lights at the top of the head, at the top of the skull. V'ha'ozin, v'ha'ayin, v'ha'chotim, that is, again, the top of the skull, the ozin, the ayin, and the chotim, all of those places upwards like that. V'kol ha'olamo shalamala mechem ad ein kates, because there are, even though the Rav himself does not, or at least, they have different stories, that Chaim Vital didn't get the lessons, he actually didn't get the lessons that happened after you got on the other side of Ak. You didn't get those lessons because he had some delay in hooking up with the Rizal because he thought maybe, listen, he's a human. These are human beings. He thought the Rizal should come to him. He's a big-time Talmud Chacham, this guy, Chaim Vital. But eventually he realized that he was the Talmud and the Rizal was the master, and he came. But the lessons that were told before that, he didn't get. That's what I've been told. I don't know if it's true. Yesh b'kol echad mechem he oros mekifim. Each one of them, we say again, had 5 oros mekifim, vehe oros penimim, and 5 oros of the inside. So they all had, then the round keys inside, outside. Inside, I keep using the word outside, it's not outside, it should be surrounded. Shehem eser spheres penimim, ve'eser mekifim, 10 spheros that are contained in these 5 oros. And then from these 5 oros, we have systems, again, of communication, which are these partsufim. Commotion is bar la'el, as we have already explained. Number Yud. So I'm reading, actually, down below, I'm reading the dark print and the light print, trying to make it work. So number Yud, down below on page Mu. So I use that kind of word because Mu, number Vav, Mem Vav, is actually a milui. It's a milui of the name Av. If you add Mu onto Mu and you put 26 onto it, you're going to get to 72. So let's go, which is Av. I bet. Number Yud, he says Ak min shal Ak v'lamata. But the thing is, when you go from this place in Ak downwards, ad sofa almost until you reach all the way very bottom of the Olamos, which is pretty much where we're at. Lo yesh rak chamisha oros penimim. In this case, you have 5 oros complete in the round ki penimim. V'shnei makifim elyonim, but they only have the top 2 makifim. Shehem keneged yechida v'chaya, which we call them yechida yachaya. They're called parts of mechem v'la'od. So in every section of your body, there are communication systems. Communication system is that this communicates with that with this, and this with that, and back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. All of this communication is the network of the flow of the Shefa from the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. Even we could see it in ourselves. We need to look at it. Ki ha'or nismayet misham lamata, because what happens is as you get away from this is what he's saying, as you get away from the pad to ak. So he said, what? Everything from the lip, let's say, so to speak, of Ak upwards is imperfection. But as the lights of the Ukudim start to come out of the pad to Ak, they lose a lot of their brilliance. And remember what happens is inside of a Kli, as we were describing how the Oros are coming out of the pad to Ak and they're lighting up the Kalim that are down below. Well, there's more distance to travel as you get further away from Ak, and as a result of that, the only lights that light up on the makifim, on the surrounding lights, are the Chay Yechida. V'lechem ba'olam zeh shal akudim, shehem ha'oros hayotzim min ha'peh v'lechutz shal Ak, because they came already out, they're already away from Ak. Lo hoyabo rak hamisha oros penimim, it only had 5 lights on the inside. V'shnei makifim, and 2 on the surrounding. V'lo'od, and not more. V'zachar kagdama zu, so remember this. Now, the whole thing about Ikudim is very, very deep, and it actually works everything in Kabbalah, or many things in Kabbalah. So we have to remember that although it's not as well defined as many things that we will see in Kabbalah, that's because it's much less physical. So let's finish up number Yud by reading the Tiv Hachaim, who's going to repeat this in an easier way. So he says, Me'oras ha'peh va'elach. Once the light comes out of the peh da'ak, nishtanim mispar ha'mekifim. Then we see that the count of the mekifim goes down. It should be 5, but it's going to be only 2. V'uki ad oros ha'peh, because before you got to the lights that came out of the mouth, yesh b'kol b'china chamisha oros penimim v'chamisha oros mekifim. There were in every part, which we talked about, the nose and the eyes, the ears, the top of the head, the forehead. All of those different areas had 5 different sets of lights inside and surrounding. But when you go from the pad to ak and you start going downwards, until you get to the end of the Lamos Abiyah, Yesh bechen chamisha penimim, they do in fact have 5 interior lights. Ak la'ulam zo, but corresponding to them, it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inside, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 outside. He said, but the thing is that doesn't happen. So he said, Ella shnei mekifim makif dechayu makif the yechida bilvad. That's all that's on the outside, or what I call the outside, or the surrounding light. The sulo, no more than that. Ki bechinas nefesh ruach neshama ein lechem mekifim. They don't have corresponding mekifim. I just have to think about this and what the implication is. So you imagine that you had a vessel that had lights and they had 5 levels in it. Those levels are energy levels. And the top one, which is called Chaya, it could be very, very bright compared to the bottom one, just relative to the bottom one, which is going to be Nefesh. Now you should have the same thing in that vessel, should have a light that surrounds it that corresponds to each one of those places. There should be a light for the top part on the outside, which is a Chaya, which is a Yechida and Chaya, and you should have the whole Naran. The Nimsa Sha'ad Oros Hayotze Min Pad Ak. So it comes out like this until you get to the lights that are coming out of the mouth of Ak. Hoyosora Oros Penimim, then you had 10 interior lights, Vasora Oros Makifim. Ve'elamer HaPeh Lamata, but that we see now from the Peh going downwards, Yeshtam Rak Zion Oros Bilvad, there are only 7 lights. Shehem Hey Oros Penimim, Ubeis Oros Makifim, and 2 on the surrounding. Batama Davar, Sheba Oros HaPeh Nechsro Shlosha Bekifin Shal Naran. So what's the reason why the light that's now pouring out of the mouth of Ak only has 5 interior and 2 surrounding? This is the same thing again. He says what's happening is the light's not as strong as it used to be. The Makifim are very, very powerful lights. But I would say that if you come out with it, that would make sense to me if you said that the Naran, that is the Neshama, Ruach, and Nefesh, which are the lower lights, they came out, right? And then you didn't have the bigger lights, but he said, no, you have all the bigger lights. It seems to me like the answer must be that the little smaller lights are there, you just can't see them. Let me see what he says, though. He said, because from the pad going downwards, the light is going on and it's getting less. So since it's distanced itself from the light of the Or the Ein Sof, so therefore there's no koach to light up, so to speak, or to cause to shine the energy that's in these oros, all of these oros makifim. Only the Chaya Yechida lights. Shehem oros gedolim ma'od, which are the biggest, big time lights. They shine from far away to the vessels and into the lights that are on the inside. Remember we said way back when that the Mekifim are much stronger lights. They're so strong they can't go in. They can't really go in. They can only shine from the outside in. Vatam shakodim meir bechinas or makif techaya v'achakach or makif yechida. So he says, what's the reason why the Chaya shines first and then the Yechida? In other words, it's the level of what we call Chachma. That shines first. And then the level of Keter, which is up above it, shines second. Because the reason why is because on the inside of the Kli, the Neranki that's inside of there, Mekablem Dechida as Bechinas Nefesh, Hi Bechina HaPachulsa. Is because inside, the first thing that came out was the Nefesh. Remember that? Was the Nefesh, then the 6 parts of the Ruach, and then it went to Neshama, and then so on and so forth. All of those came out, but they came out the bottom first. Until finally all the rest of the lights came out, and you had a Yechida there, which was greater than all the rest of them. So the same thing happens in the Mekifim. So therefore, that's the reason why Chaya comes first, because we have in the Olam HaKudim that the smaller comes out first. It's not the same thing as we will learn, with God's help, in Olam HaNekudim, where there you have the greater one comes out first. Then after that, only the higher one comes out, that comes out at the end. Ad Kan. And thank you very much for listening. This is Boruch Fleischman.